Greetings, everyone. So, yeah, this is our very first webinar. Welcome, everyone. And please let me know that you are here, where you're watching from, and say hello to each other in the chat. So, I already saw Alex the man. So he's even joining us from his car, as you mentioned yesterday to me. So, first of all, I would highly recommend you stay tuned with us all the way to the end. Because at the end of this webinar, I will share a special Halloween discount with you all that you can get access to anywhere. You cannot of course get access to anywhere else. So basically stay tuned to the end to get this Halloween discount code. It will basically not be shown at any other place. It will be a 20% off, and in general you will be able to see this live stream afterwards when we upload it, but this discount code will not be there on that video. Let me see. Okay, good. Alex just told me that his wife is driving, so he can watch us. That's great. So the theme of this webinar today is basically you can ask me anything. So, of course, later on we will have different topics and so on in these webinars. But for now, for this one, it is ask me anything. So I might ask Alex how well his wife is driving, but we'll leave that for another one. But yeah, for example, we have interesting topics coming up, basically Q&As, as we already talked about today, which is today as well. Geeking out about the voice and how we create these extreme vocal techniques. We'll also invite guests and reviewing and reacting to singers' live performances and analyzing the good and the bad and everything in between. So you can expect us to deliver that podcast that you need if you're into screams, growls, harsh vocals, or anything voice nerdy. So, so why is RMS a place that you should come? Well, and basically get your lessons right. It is basically us who help you create these crazy tones from metal singing or rock singing, and now we also see these styles being used in a lot more styles. Even hip-hop nowadays use these either growly or screamy things to invoke different emotional content when they need it. But there's also so many new styles coming out with all these cool effects. So let's see what it's gonna turn into. Maybe K-pop with growls at some point. But yeah, another good reason that you might want to choose us as the place for you to learn all these effects is that we have done research with one of the leading voice scientists in the world, Nathalie Heinrich from Gypsy Lab in France. She is very known for her work. It's also on ventricular folds, but she's never been into rock and metal singing that much, so it was a rough one to get her along to do this research together. But we looked into all the effects, how they're done, healthy. Let's start there, right? Because you can find a lot of places that will promote and talk about ways that is most definitely not healthy for you in the long run. There are two different aspects to think about. One of them is, of course, you can produce the sound, That's great. But the second question is really, is it healthy and is it sustainable? I have been doing these crazy sounds for, yeah, I can barely count anymore. Um, I think I started when I was 14, around that age, maybe 13, and I turned 35 this year. I have never had any vocal damage whatsoever. In the beginning, as everyone else, of course, I got hoarse sometimes because there was no information to reach out and grab at that point, really. But now there is a place, and that place is RMS Vocal Institute. So let's have a little poll. Would you like to see / hear me react and analyze and explain extreme vocal techniques in popular songs, famous singers, screamers, etc. in future webinars? If so, please write down in the chat if that would be something, of course, with a yes or a no. Let's see if there's any cool questions. Hey Florian, I do not know if baby metal has any of these crazy screams. I don't here and yeah, there is actually here and there. Not from the girls, but I think that one of the guitarists, he's here and there adding some effects. But it could also, yeah, be just filled with compressors and and tape machines that just makes it distort. I don't remember it that well, but there is something in the back of my head saying that, yeah, there is at least one time I heard a part with baby metal doing some having some of these crazy sounds in it. Let's see. Oh, so Alex is asking a really cool question. When you compose a song, how do you approach it? Do you think of the sound as a whole, or do you work instrument by instrument? Well, in the band that I'm in right now, I had the lyrics ready already. So at that point, I like to say, yeah, I at least had melody lines for the choruses a lot of the time. But for verse and the other small details, you can definitely cut up and do a lot of small things to make it work. But yeah, I in general approach it in a like whatever works type of thing. I've tried everything. I've been in a band where my recordings that I got with only guitar sounded like so I have tried that as well. I tried getting fully produced songs back. I've basically seen everything and tried everything. Start with vocals, end with vocals. I think that we should, if it's growled, I think a lot of the time you have two options. Either to go pure rhythmic and like type of a thing, where you then know how the rhythmic basically can go on top of the music. But you can also go pretty melodic with it, and do smaller melodies with these extreme vocal effects. So I have seen it all. I have tried it all. I do not know. It's really up to the situation, but I would say that a lot of the time it's maybe better to put it as the last sprinkle on top of this crazy music already. Mainly because stylistically you might want to change something. If you only write the lyrics and then have the sound in your head and like, yeah, I can growl this, I can growl that, and then suddenly, oh, the regular growl didn't sound good on this specific part, and then you have to be ready to change it to maybe a guttural sound. I once tried where I thought, oh, a guttural is going to work for this song, and then when I tried it out with my band, I was like, yeah, okay, that doesn't work at all. So then I had to do regular growls in that part, and it meant that I needed to work more on that part to get it right with regular growls. So yeah, it can really it can drive in any way or form. Really, it just depends on the situation. The more you are used to making these sound and have more than one sound in the arsenal, then it's easier to approach it. When I've been in different bands, different styles as well, and I think that it's all about being able to change enough for it to work with that band. Sometimes we see that singers think that one sound is going to work for whatever band I join. If you're lucky, then it might, but country is not the same as bluegrass or whatever. They all have a little bit of different flavorings, and being able to adjust that with your screaming voice or growly or whatever type of a distortion you're making is really what we're looking for, right? Have as much in the arsenal as possible. Another good reason to go to a place to learn it instead. Cool. Let me see. So we're also planning in these webinars to bring in students, teachers, voice experts, celebrity musicians, and a lot more that we'll announce when that time is. Why? Another good question is probably, why should you get lessons instead of self-teaching on YouTube or teaching yourself? Well, let's start with the most important one. If you do not go to someone who knows what's going on inside the voice box, what might happen is that they say, oh, I can do this, and I think that what I feel is correct for this sound to be produced. What you might find is that they can maybe do it for a certain amount of time, and then their voice does something it shouldn't. You do not know if this person gets tired or not. I sit here and I teach for a lot of hours, sometimes more than 6 hours, sometimes even more, sitting here making these sound, singing all the time, and nothing still happens. I know what I'm doing and done the research with one of the leading voice scientists. So it's really important to find someone that can actually teach you these different sound characters. I'm what you would call a ventricular fold specialist, meaning that I understand a lot about how these false vocal folds, that they react and how they should react for you to sustain the sound for the rest of your life. But let's take it on a little different level as well. What people normally don't talk about is behind these vocal effects, you use your plica vocalis, your actual true vocal folds. What does that mean? Well, if you mess up, let's say, both your ventricular folds, your false vocal folds, as you guys normally like to call them, and your plica vocalis, what happens then if something accidentally, or let's say you are a smoker and suddenly you have issues with your true vocal folds, but you also messed up your false vocal folds? what will happen then? Because normally what we would do or ENTs would do, is that they make sure that you can then use your ventricular folds to make sound with. So you can speak like this. What if that part is also messed up? What will you do? Exactly. There is no sound then. You would not be able to, maybe with the epiglottis horn you might, but I have never heard about anyone making pure sound only from the epiglottis horn in that sense. And I think it would be a lot of work to be able to. I know people who actually are in rehabilitation as a doctor, where they help people be able to speak after, for example, they have the most of their voice box operated out. So they only have the ventricular folds left, and that's, yeah, it's sad to see, but at least think about it, that it's your way of communicating with people. It's not just another cool effect. It's all about being able to do it healthy and sustainably. Boom, boom. So really take care of yourself like you would with anything else. Do not just hope that your best friend who is in a band, who can kind of growl, can teach you what's going on. It is much more, it's more important than just something like that. This is not you learning how to bike. This is not you learning something that is lesser dangerous for your speaking voice. If you want to be a musician, right, then yeah, if you have a broken leg, that's one thing. But if you break something that cannot be healed again, you get my drift. Let me see. I'll get back to you in a second, Flycam. So we have one more poll. Would you like me to perform a few examples of extreme vocals in the webinars and explain the very basics of them? If so, get ready in the poll. And let's see what you think. I would gladly show you guys what's going on at least. So, yeah. So with that, of course, brings up the question, do you start doing extreme vocals, or how do you first do that, or do you first do clean singing, or how is it to get into this? Well, I honestly believe that it's better to learn to do clean singing to a certain level and then add these effects, because your true vocal folds are being used while making these sounds. So otherwise it might be really, really hard to control. And instead of us using a lot of time where you say, it hurts, it doesn't feel nice, it's unpleasant, it's all these things, you come back to me losing your voice here and there and so on, then I think it's much more, it's smarter in general, and it's a better way to first learn how to clean sing, learn the registers, learn how your voice works first, because then when you go into all these effects, then you can actually do so much more suddenly. One second, I need a little bit of water. Then you can truly do so many more things, instead of you being, again, the guy who can and that's it. There is no more. And because you don't know all the other parts and how they work. So we would anyway go back to that. So I think it's better to have a decent fundamental of what clean singing means. So when you contact me, I think it's super smart just to let me know, I like these styles in extreme vocal effects, and I would like to approach maybe this or that clean singing style. Then we will talk about, do these two things go together? You know, let's say you want yodeling and you want tunnel throat. So if that was your combo, think about if that's the type of music you want to do. A lot of the time, what people come here and then say, well, okay, I would like to approach it in this, maybe this rock band that has some cleans and some rock distortion. That's a decent way, because there's a long way from even operatic singing to growls that can sound really weird, if there isn't both things happening in the same time. You might have operatic singing, but you'd also want to then layer it with something, and that could be growls, that could be anything really. But if you're the only singer in the band and you want to then approach this in a way where I'm gonna take every singing line that's gonna happen in this band, then yes, then it's super smart for you to think about how the clean singing and how the effects go together. It's a big thing. And if you don't know, and you just come and say, Soren, I just want my voice to shine in my cleans and also in my distortions, let's go for it. Then I'll teach you different styles, and we'll see what works for your voice and what you like as well. Cool. So we have Flymo Flycam. So Flymo asks if I will. He's happy to see us back at RMS, even doing these webinars now. And what he's asking about is if I will go deeper into the whole tunnel throat thing. And most definitely. There has been so much development in these more nasty sounds in death metal and deathcore that I will need to do an update on it very soon. Even I have made new sounds with this technique now that I haven't heard yet many use, or if any. So there are things to go into again, and I think that it's about time now. It's been a while since I did the tunnel throat video, and we have so many bands now doing it. So there has been some development in general in this style, because people liked it, and I do too. So most definitely, I will very soon start the. I just started slowly going into the script of the video, and will probably record it this month. So maybe in the beginning of next month, or at the end of this month, you will have a video. Cool. And people seem to want me to perform and show some examples of extreme vocals live in these webinars. So let's go for it. I'll most definitely do that then. Let's see. So another good question sometimes is, what do you need to get, or how do you get started here at RMS Vocal Institute? What do I need to be able to do these lessons? I actually just covered a video that's titled FAQ, Frequently Asked Questions. So please head over to our YouTube channel when you're done after this live stream and check it out. But in a nutshell, what you need is decent or pretty good internet. Either download Skype or Zoom, or use Google Meet. I do believe Google Meet needs a Gmail, but that's the only thing. So if you don't have one, then create one. Otherwise, you can really use whatever device you want nowadays. Phones have really good microphones now, and tablets has as well, and PC, Mac, it really doesn't matter. I'm sitting here with studio monitors, so whatever you're using will be heard as well as it kind of can. So I always have an extra option there to look into. Okay, and I will ask, like, can you go a little bit further away? Can you go a little bit closer to it, so I can kind of analyze the room acoustics with how you sound? So But again, it shouldn't matter that much nowadays. It's all the gear is so good now and for very small money, so it's not a. If you asked me 10 years ago or something, then it would be another story. But I think nowadays, yeah, it's you can almost do it on anything. You can even get microphones now for recording on your smartphones. Um, so yeah, it really shouldn't be an issue. Of course, best case scenario, you have a microphone, live microphone or a studio one. You have an audio interface. That would be the best. Of course, it would. But it really depends. Like I would still be able to hear everything, so it's not a biggie if you don't have those things. And I will always be able to give you advice on what to buy, what not to buy. In that case, I have had quite a few students ask me about how these things work, and it's not super hard. It just need someone who knows voice a little bit to help you with this and studio work. So cool. I'll just look in and see if there's any questions. Oh, okay. Flycam asks one more, and no problem at all. Asking how much do I practice if I have time, except for teaching. Well, sometimes I don't get enough time for myself to teach myself, or not teach myself, but to practice. Yeah, it varies for me. I have these things encoded so much in my brain that it's there. It's not something I have to work much for anymore. But I would recommend everyone to do practice as a minimum every third day. That would be my minimum, just to make sure that everything is where it needs to be. But if you want really high notes and you need high notes and you don't have a really bright soprano voice, for example, then you will need to practice at least every third day as an absolute minimum to get those high notes to be effortless. Because it's not just about strong is one thing in your voice and on your vocal folds, but there's also flexibility. Flexibility will actually slowly decrease if you're not using it. It's like I have been able to touch the floor with a flat hand in a stretch forward or bend forward. And it doesn't mean that I'll be able to for the rest of my life. If you do not keep it flexible as well as strong, then you will lose higher notes. I personally used to be able to sing a G6. I just never use it. So I would maybe use it for a lip roll, but it wasn't something that I started, so Christina Aguilera's highest note is a G6, for example. It didn't mean that I suddenly then, okay, I'm going to sing Christina Aguilera all the time. I have an obituary t-shirt on. So I'm not in that category of how I want to sound. Even though Christina Aguilera sings amazing, it's just not where I want to be with my voice. So I decreased my flexibility to that high pitch because I don't use it anymore. But I can help people get up there now because I know the route and how to get there. But yeah, I would recommend you practice. If you come here and get lessons, I would recommend that you practice as often as possible, meaning as many 20 minutes as possible. And then, yeah, if that turns into a few times a day, amazing. That's the best thing you can do. But when we talk about growling and these things, that is step by step, not with the clean singing. The clean singing you will be able to do much longer at a time, but these vocal effects, they need you to gradually get ready for it, basically. Cool. Alex says, interesting to hear about how you're making new sounds. Do you go about experimenting with new techniques in a safe manner? Yes. For me, everything is about safety. So I make many new sounds here and there, and it's really all about safety. How it can I do it for an hour? Okay, I could do it for an hour. Can I maybe do it for 3 hours? Oh, I could do it for 3 hours. How does my voice feel after? How is my voice the next 3 days? That's one thing, of course, but when I go into it, it's all about knowing how the voice should react on things and how it shouldn't. And yeah, I still sometimes like play around and see what can come out. These days for me, it's all about really nasty zombie, whatever, horror movie sounds. That's what I'm into these days a lot. So anything that's like, that's totally me these days. I just love it. So mixing up different parts that can distort and make cool, weird sounds. That's it. Great answer and a great question, Alex. That's what I want to say. Cool. So if there's not any more questions, I will basically we'll go through the data that you in the polls that you already voted for, and basically we will try to tailor these webinars for your requests and what you would like to see in these live streams. And basically before we sign off today, let us announce the Halloween discount code that gives you 20% off any RMS booking. You should use this booking code before Halloween, or not be latest on Halloween's day. Let's put it like that. That gives you those 20% off. Make sure you screenshot it or take a picture with your phone or write it down, because it will not, as I say, show in the replay of this webinar. So the code that you need to apply to your booking will be shown right after our very own RMS Halloween video that we made last year with our awesome students. And I could not say no to joining this. It was just, it was everything. It was so fun to do. I love Halloween myself, so I was like, I'm going to join in on this one. I do not care. It is also for me. So, yes. After this video, the Halloween discount code or the spooky code will show right after the video. So, thank you for joining us today. Don't forget to check out our homepage, rmsvocalinstitute.com. Book a lesson at rmsvi.com, and subscribe to our YouTube channel if you haven't done so already. And bye-bye, and have an amazing Halloween with your friends or family. Happy Halloween discount to all of you. See you at RMS Vocal Institute.
RMS Vocal Institute would like to wish you all a happy Halloween. Welcome in. This is Halloween.
Pumpkins scream in the dead of night.
This is Halloween, everybody make a scene.
Trick or treat till the neighbors get a dead fright. It's our town, everybody scream.
In this town of Halloween,
Everyone holding on the bed. Teeth cry shine and eyes going red. I am the one holding on to your stairs. Finger like snakes and spiders in my hair.
This is Halloween. This is Halloween. 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 Halloween.
in this town we call home. Everyone here hail to the pumpkin soul.
With the snow, the revenue, everybody waiting for the next surprise.
Round that got a man running in the trash can. Something sweating on the bones and now you're trying Halloween. Are you scared?
Let's just fight. Say it once, say it twice.
I just roll the dice.
Fire with a moon in the jar of night.
Everybody, everybody.
In our town of Halloween.
Halloween face. Here in the flesh and now without a trace. I am the who and you call who's there. I am the wind blowing through your hair.
I am the shadow on the moon at night. Fill your dreams to the brim with fright.
This is Halloween, this is Halloween. Halloween, 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 Halloween.
Halloween, Halloween.
Send out love links everywhere. Life's no fun without a good scare.
The sounds of but we not men. In no time of Halloween.
In this town,
Everybody's waiting for the next surprise.
You scream like a banshee, you jump out of the ass.
This is Halloween, everybody scream!
Please make way for a very special guy. Robert Jackers, king of the pumpkin patch. Everyone hail to the pumpkin good night.
This is Halloween, this is Halloween.
In this town, we go home. Everybody hail to the pumpkin
Hello? This is Halloween. 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 Trick or treat. Happy Halloween.